Welcome back to a live reaction edition of Until Saturday. I'm Ari Wasserman, joined by Dave Ubben. After the Red River Rivalry, and Dave, I got to just tell you, I'm okay. You know, if this isn't the day where we were going to talk about how Texas is the same team as they always have been. That's the first comment that came up.
Not a fraud situation with Texas.
Yes,
not
yes.
a they didn't show up. I think this is, and our colleague Christinini, I believe, is writing this, but this is an Oklahoma is back sort of game where it's just two really good teams and somebody's got to lose.
Right. And, you know, for all you playoff expansion people, I am totally okay with the notion that this game may not matter. You know, if the thing that I was going to be afraid of for Texas this year was losing to the 14, 17-point underdog in Big 12 play. Now, if that happens, they're out of the playoff. So, like, we're on high alert. But I thought that was a really good game between two high-level opponents in a big-time rivalry game, back and forth. Both coaches were in their bags. I thought everybody played well. I don't know what the prevailing takeaway here is other than now Oklahoma probably has to be more considered when we have the big-time discussions about the end of the season and how the Big 12 is going to shake out and, you know, where Oklahoma belongs nationally. Because I do think that there was a certain – I mean, maybe on our podcast, if you agree with this, but we don't really talk about Oklahoma as a legit national championship contender coming into this game. And after this game, with the way the defense played, I thought they did a really good job. I think that it's probably safe to say that we just took them a little bit too lightly this year based on last year's team.
Yeah, I mean, so much went wrong for Oklahoma last year. And then you have the transition. You have a first-time head coach and, the injuries on top of that. I was not an Oklahoma buyer coming in, not a huge believer in Dylan Gabriel, but he got it done today. And I think you're right. You know, this Oklahoma team really did look like a national title contender today. I don't know how you can come away from this feeling like anything else. And I think for Oklahoma, we kind of alluded to it the last couple of weeks, Ari. I think I mentioned it 2 or 3 weeks ago that, like, I'm starting to believe in OU a little bit. Like, the offensive performances against Cincinnati and SMU kind of raise my eyebrows, but also, like, you win those games convincingly. I don't really care. And these are the games that show me, okay, like, who are you? And by the second quarter, I was like, I don't really care if they win or lose this game. I mean, this is a team to be taken seriously. And it looks more and more like the 6 and 7 last year was a fluke. And this is the Oklahoma team that we're more accustomed to seeing. But if you're drawing up why you hired Brent Venables, that was a tough team, Ari. That goal line stand was legit.
Texas
4 plays. Texas' offensive line had some issues there, but Texas was filling the gaps, pushing them up. They won the line of scrimmage there, and we can talk about Texas's red zone failures, but it wasn't like Texas was tripping over its own foot. Oklahoma was getting a push consistently and forced a lot of those red zone issues where I'm not sure if that last possession ever crossed into the red zone because I think Brooks scored from pretty far out. But if I'm not mistaken, Ari, 3 trips, 3 points for Texas today.
That's right. And
that hit forced the interception.
There was a deflection that bounced up into the air and was an interception. And then on the following possession, Texas blocked a punt to score. So that kind of, I don't know, washed that one away a little bit. But, like, listen, I'm looking at the stats here, and I'm sure our lovely producer has the stats up for us here on the screen. But Quinn Ewers went 31 of 37 for 346 yards and a touchdown and lost.
Yeah.
Like, I just, like, you know, you can say Texas stinks again or whatever you want to say about him, but I thought he played a pretty good game. And it just didn't really seem like either one of these teams dominated. They both made plays. They both took punches. They both landed punches. And at the end of the game, somebody had to win. Now, the one thing I would like to see from a team that I think is a playoff contender or a championship-worthy team is to, you know, not let OU go down the field like there was no defense on the field in the final drive. But there is just, you know, something to that just happens in those moments.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you came away from this game thinking anything really super negative about Texas, to quote Deion Sanders, you're just a flat-out hater. Texas looked good in this game, and they're still a really good team. There's still some playoff hopes alive there. But Oklahoma, it's time to take them seriously and their defense seriously again. And I think Ari, I just came away from this game like this is the best of college football today. You have the setting, which always brings it, no matter what the stakes are. That place is almost always packed to the brim, and we didn't get a half empty in the third quarter situation, which we have gotten more than a few times in that game when one team really drops the hammer on the other. We didn't see that today. We saw. That touchdown catch in the end zone. That's a moment that's going to live a long time in this rivalry. And Dylan Gabriel, that fourth quarter drive to go down the field. You'd like to see more from Texas's offense, but that's a situation that Dylan Gabriel, for probably the rest of his life, may not be paying for a whole lot around Norman lately.
You know what I was thinking, and I don't know what the prevailing thought of this game is, and maybe yours is just two good teams, like we said. And I think they might play again here at the end of the year, which is going to be awesome.
I think that's very likely, yeah.
But when Texas at the end of the game was tied 27-27, and they faced a 4th and short, I believe they were either on the edge of the red zone or in the red zone, and Sark brought his offense back out. And it turned out all he was trying to do was draw Oklahoma's D offsides there. I thought he was going to go for it, especially because Oklahoma's defense was in a field goal block scenario, and it kind of looked like they were disoriented a little bit, and then they just didn't and called the timeout and kicked the field goal. I might have gone for it there. Do you think that's nuts?
It's not nuts. I mean, it's about what do you believe in do you believe in your kicker? Do you believe in your defense? That's kind of what it
And if you're Texas, you probably don't have a great reason to believe in your kicker because Auburn's been all over the place.
Yeah.
And then in this game,
he was money today, though.
He was. Yeah, he was. And I mean, he made the field goal. I'm not trying to come down. I'm just saying I think that you could have thought about going and getting the 2 or 3 yards that they needed to get a first down. OU had no timeouts at that point, and then kicking a field goal with 0 time left. And I'm not saying that Sark made the wrong decision or a bad decision. I just thought when they sent the offense out there, I was like, man, that's a coach making a big time call, and they didn't do it. So it is.
I'm not even sure they had a play call there, Ari.
I think they might not have. Yeah, but I thought when they sent the offense out, they might have had a play call, and if they would have gone for it and made it, that would have essentially won the game, and I think would have been like a, high confidence in your team moment that I think might have sent the message. Now let me ask you this. People are tweeting at me, I'm sorry, your Texas is dead and all this stuff. It's like, I think that's premature.
Yeah, they're not dead.
It would have been nice, though, for me anyway, in my thought process of this team, if they would have won the game. Like, this is the type of game that, you're playing a very good team. It's a rival. You won last year. People think that you have the quarterback advantage. You have the skill position player advantage. You probably have the running back advantage. I think that all played out in the game. And to just fall short, I don't know if that's just a symptom of Sark, maybe doing what he's going to do again, or if it's just, no big deal. Like, what's your thought process on that?
I still think that we can get a flat Texas, what just happened here loss. I still think that's a real possibility, even with the down Big 12. But if you're Texas, the sun's going to rise tomorrow. And if you are an 11-1, 12-1 Big 12 champion at the end of the year, better than 50% chance you're making that field, I would say.
If you're Oklahoma or Texas and you have a 1-loss champ, they're both in, I think.
Are you talking about if Oklahoma gets there undefeated and Texas beats them? Or what are you talking about?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. If Oklahoma loses a game to somebody else and then wins the Big 12 championship,
yeah,
they're in. And if Texas runs the table and beats OU in the Big 12 championship, they're in. So they're both,
you're saying in. I'm gonna say better than 50%, but there's a world in which you're not in. This is not a super strong Big 12. I think Texas has a better chance than Oklahoma does because Texas has the Alabama win on their resume. Oklahoma, they'll have the Texas win and not much else. And Texas presumably would have the Alabama win and the Oklahoma win on their resume, plus maybe 1 to 2 other ranked wins, depending on how the rest of the Big 12 shakes out at season's end. You forget, I have to always remind people of this. The committee counts ranked wins, not when you play them, but when they're ranked at the end of the season. So the final season, top 25. So nobody cares. But Alabama's probably going to be a top 15 team. Oklahoma almost certainly will be a top 15 team. Texas certainly a top 15 team. And that's worst case in terms of how bad that win might be. So I think better than 50%, but because of Texas already has a skin on the wall, they've got probably slightly better chance of getting in if they're sitting there at 12-1, hoisting a Big 12 title.
I'm not gonna lie though. I'm gonna be honest with you. If Texas would have won this game, I would have come into this podcast, I told you you're an idiot, you're wrong. I didn't do that. The energy's a little so like you can give me some shit if you feel like it's deserved.
No, because my case all year has been that I think there's going to be a game where Texas doesn't show up. And they didn't play great today, but they played really well. They acquitted themselves. They looked like a top 10 team today, Ari. I mean, I'm not going to say that this impressed me more than the win over Alabama because it didn't. And this is still a game you get up for. But it was never going to be a situation today unless you lose like 37-10 or something like that. My issue with Texas is I don't trust them to show up every week, at 11 a.m. in Stillwater or whatever. Like, that's the games that I am more concerned about because we've seen that time and time again. And then, of course, you and Max get on me when I talk about this, but Sark's been a head coach at a lot of different places with a lot of expectations. And I don't know how you guys can just gloss over the fact that he's never won 10 games in a season. Like, that's a real thing. USC, Washington, now Texas, these are not places where winning 10 games is like, oh man, that's like the expectation. Mm-hmm. And so, these are things that has to do with week-to-week preparation because you have talent advantages more often than not at those places. And so I want to still see it from Texas. Clearly, when they're
the only
they're elite.
possible
You gotta do it every week.
Texas can have this year that I would be like, I can still believe in Sark because if they lose twice in both times in Oklahoma. Like, I don't think there's any other scenario here. Now, if they go lose a team that's a 10 or 14 point dog or, do the same old Texas thing and they win 10 or 9 games this year and it's not, losses to high powered teams. It's just, this is why I love the season and the way that it's set up right now, because it's like now Texas has his back against the wall every single week, every single week moving forward. Every game they play, it will matter. And they have to show up every week now. There's no grab ass. There's no sleepwalking. There's no, however you want to put it. You can't trust them. You can't trust them. They've got to do what they can every single week. They cannot lose again. And that's fun to me. So I'm excited to watch this team bounce back and, hopefully it will. But, we're talking about Oklahoma program where some of the fans wanted Brent fired last year. Because you can't go.
We talked about it coming into the year, Ari, that if you have another 6-7 situation going into the SEC, you'd have to think about it, right? If you're Oklahoma. This is a huge year for Venables. Again, he has a lot of capital at Oklahoma. The leadership obviously really likes him. That's why they made him a first-time head coach. Bob Stoops, by the way, also a first-time head coach at Oklahoma. Lincoln Riley, also a first-time head coach at Oklahoma. They did pretty well. So, the expectations are what the expectations are, but the resources are also what the resources are, and that's going to change in the SEC. But, we got to give Brent Venables his flowers right now because last year was such a nightmare in so many different ways. He needed a true win to get people back on the Venables bandwagon and back sort of like even the casuals, even the like person who, sort of just watches the games on Saturday and doesn't really engage a lot of other ones. This is the kind of game that makes those people say, he's all right. He's got some more time before we're coming for his head. And that's a huge thing for Venables because coming off of last year, he was a bad loss or two away from like having some real conversations about like, is this what we want to do going into the SEC? And the guaranteed contract, and there's a lot of reasons why I didn't think they were going to actually do it. But you don't want to walk into the SEC where half or more than half of the fan base is sort of like kind of giving you the evil eye and waiting until they can afford to fire you. And I think this is the kind of win, and we'll see what OU does down the back half of the schedule. This is the kind of win that flips the narrative on you in a hurry coming off of last season.
And he did a very good job of flipping the roster too, Dave.
He did. Yeah. And for all the transfers they added were huge. And for all of the criticism and the issues that they ran into last season, you can't go 6-7 in Oklahoma. There was no excuse for how bad that got, especially in a Big 12 that wasn't exactly setting the world on fire either. So a huge win.
Oklahoma fans are probably in a pretty good place too, because of the I hate using the word narrative because it's overused, but the narrative around Lincoln Riley and whether he'll never win a championship. Like that's kind of a thing right now.
They got to
with
let
the way
him go. Let Lincoln Riley go.
No, but
Oklahoma,
I'm just saying, like,
move
they
on
gotta
with your
feel.
lives.
I mean, listen, I'm going to say this about Oklahoma.
Mhm.
When Lincoln Riley bolted 2 years ago in the middle of nowhere in December, like I was on team Oklahoma there. Like I was like that sucks.
Mhm.
He did them dirty. Not only did he leave, and I understand like he had to go, but like he takes Caleb Williams. It's a very easy person to hate. But if
Yes, but the
anything,
Oklahoma fans lost me when they started trying to make the case that they were better off.
no, yeah, that's but I'm
that was what I was
saying
getting to be.
I'm
Okay,
saying
guys.
now, if I were at the game today, and by the way, I'm looking at you in the eye right now, and Jill, if you're listening, anybody, I'm not going to this game next year. Like I'm going.
You better, Ari.
I don't know why. Just my wife's out of town in Napa having a wine trip with her friends, and I should have still gone. I could have made it happen.
State Fair. I can't believe you've still never been to the State Fair. First of all, you need to go to the State Fair before the game, like not like the day of the game, like a Tuesday or something, like a couple weeks before the game.
But
do
you
you
want
to actually enjoy the fair and then go to the?
I got to take my daughter there. I think.
Yeah.
Do you know what my column would have been if I were there? And maybe I still might write it.
I don't actually. I'm interested. You could still write it.
This is the game where Oklahoma fans can finally 100% turn the page on everything that happened 2 years ago and sink its teeth into what they're building and who they have there now.
Yeah.
Because, they are in a very good position to win a Big 12 championship in the last year of their membership in this league. They have a coach who's recruiting better than the previous coaching stats did. And, there's a lot to be excited about that has nothing to do with what's going on in LA. And that I think is a really big step forward for the program. And, I might write that for Monday. So we'll see how it goes. Dave, we have a lot of games to continue to watch today. Both of us are on our couches today, which is great. I might take my cell phone in the shower, watch some of the A&M Alabama game, but we'll get together tonight around, whenever the later
when the primetime games are in hand, we will be back.
Yeah.
And I'll be in my office. I'm in my living room because I didn't want to relocate my whole screen situation. So shout out to the viewers who are getting a peek at my living room. So
yeah. Also, I just want to make a public service announcement. I bet on an Iowa over today, 38.5.
Look at you, Ari. Godspeed, my guy.
Yeah. They score 7 quickly, and then it's just back on that bullshit. But we'll be monitoring. I'm excited. There's a lot to talk about. Bruce Feldman has a fan crush. My wife also apparently has a crush on Bruce Feldman. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. So thank you so much for watching live, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to the podcasts. We will be there tonight live again here and tomorrow for Sunday Sound Off. So Dave, Ari, thank you. We'll see you guys later tonight.